I'm leaving tomorrow to start our
Okay.
tour in the
So I'm
UK.
actually getting an exclusive.
That's hilarious. Like, only because there's a ton of things to do. I've been out of my house since like 6 this morning. I'm running around boroughs I'm dropping off my dog. I'm packing a bag. I need a facial. I got to get a pedicure. Like, it's like a
Oh
hundred
yeah.
things that I'm doing right now. And I said, you know what? And I'm going to do this live interview.
Thank you
Hey.
so much, Queen. I
How
am
are
so
you?
honored to have you on the Who Am I talk.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
Thanks for asking. This is awesome.
I'm so,
Woo.
so inspired. I like chic. I mean, I don't even know where to start. And you're going on tour,
Oh,
and this is what's so exciting. You know, we're coming out of this horrible whatever. I don't want to give it air.
I'm telling you, I
And to,
refuse to name it. I refuse to name it.
mhm.
It besides the devil, you know?
And you are going to now be a part of the biggest show on earth, really, isn't it? Like
Yes.
you couldn't get any better than a show with you guys.
Right, coming out of all of this. And just people have been patiently waiting. Music, as you know, is international. So
That's right.
everyone on earth is like, and it's true, it calms the savage beast. Like, the minute you play a song, the fight is over. You know what I mean?
I
It's all
know
about dancing and singing along. So I'm
it
excited.
is.
It's been
I'm
way
so
too long.
excited. You're in the band Chic, Nile Rodgers, you know, legendary.
Yeah.
How did it start? What's your story? I know you grew up in Brooklyn, New York, New
Yes.
York in the house.
Yeah, and I'm in Brooklyn right now.
Hey.
I moved to Jersey City, which I love as well, but I will always represent Brooklyn.
Of
Absolutely.
course, absolutely. New York.
Yes,
And
I'm giving you a
I
taste
know,
of it right now.
and I can see
Yeah,
I haven't
right.
been back for a long time, and I can't wait till this pandemic opens up and we can
Right.
come back over for the other side. The UK can come
That's
to you
right. For you
guys.
guys to come over here. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely. And your story, you know, your story is really powerful. You grew up in a musical family.
Yeah,
Talk to me about that.
I did. I definitely grew up in a musical family. Like, I came out of the womb singing. Like, came out the womb singing. So they already
This
knew what
is
it was gonna be. You know what I mean? And I've just been singing. I mean, I used to sing commercials as a kid. I was in every play that you could imagine in school. I went to a specialized high school. I went to music and art.
yeah.
And that's where I really like learned learned how to work my craft and just learn from all of the students that were there going through it with me. And
Yeah.
I've just always been singing in club dates, singing with a girl group when I was in high school. And
Wow.
everyone in my life has influenced the music. If it was grandma that gave me gospel,
Mm,
mom gave me R&B. Auntie gave me disco, dad
that's
gave me
right.
jazz. God sister gave me Parliament Funkadelic. Like, I've been, everyone
Everything.
influenced me. So yeah,
Yeah.
very
And you
well
just
rounded.
everyone's panicking because they can see it. It's something that has been on the tip of the tongue. They've had various conferences and global leaders talking about the manifesto for climate change. And little by little, it's been quite interesting to see 2020 has been unprecedented with COVID. And then you've just seen a tirade of things happening around the world prior to that, that was not coincidental. And now it's happening on everyone's front door, as they say, doorstep. And now they're like, help me, please. And code red, when I saw that flashed across the screens, I was like, oh, red is not a really, amber, I don't mind. Maybe green, I actually prefer. But to see code red, it scared me because I realized they're saying we're there now. And
Well,
what
we
we
are, and I can explain that.
Please explain.
Okay. Well, within the last month, okay, we've seen floods in New Jersey and New York. We know that from recent hurricane that went through, but Western Europe, closer to your
Yes.
territory, in Germany and West Belgium, they had 196 people died. I'm just talking about in the last month.
Yes.
We had floods in let's talk about floods first. Central Mexico, where 17 died, mainly because of a loss of power, but also cars get swept away. Ecuador, these are just floods within the last 30 days. Colombia, Venezuela, 20 missing in Tennessee. North Carolina had floods, flash floods, as we know about in New York. But Arizona had floods, Texas had floods, Nebraska had 5 inches of rain in one storm, caused flash floods. El Salvador, Utah, Trinidad, Tobago, Uganda, Sudan, Ghana, Nigeria. This is all within the last month. Had floods where people were either died or property damage was up there, homes destroyed. Ethiopia, Somalia, Cameroon, India, Thailand, China, Japan, the Philippines. So, I mean, that's just looking at the number of places where we've had floods. You know, about 50 years ago, there might have been 70 events, or I'm sorry, 700 events that were extreme weather in a year. Now we have 3,000. Now, don't get me wrong, there's other reasons for that. Sometimes population growth, because 50 years ago, we were probably more like 4 billion population, whereas now we're like 8 billion population.
And talking about Hera City, I must say that when I started to talk about it, people thought, well, that is very ambitious, that to build a whole city, it's very ambitious. But then I realized, no, it's not ambitious, it's necessary, because we have to provide to these people that talk about empowerment of women, about humanity, about future of humanity. We have to provide them with a physical place to show that this place exists, and this place is where the change will be made.
Yes.
So the Hera City is going to be very important, and it's important that people realize that there has to be this place, like there are iconic monuments around the world that show the principles or the dogma of the things. So what we have to show is that we have this place that will shelter everyone, women and men, that want to come and to work for a better future for humanity. It will be the place also where all these women that we are trying to link through the Hera perfume, this is a powerful tool, and I will speak in a short minutes about it.
So it wasn't forced in that respect, but you then realized as you got older that this wasn't normal. There was something quite odd about this experience. And at what point did you realize this was not something you wanted to go through any longer?
Yeah. You see, when I was young and I was growing up, I would go to school, and I lived in a very white British dominated area. So there was only myself and my brother and one other Asian there. So I didn't know really anything else but all I knew, because I had no one to really compare it. I didn't have anybody else of colour like myself that I could say, what's happening with you at home? And it wasn't something we talk about. We're taught not to speak about anything that happens within the house outside. It is, it's not something that you're allowed to do. So when I got to 14, I unfortunately was cooking for my parents. My father, he'd come back from the pub very late at night with several of his friends, which he did a lot. He did that a lot. You know, they would go off and one person would go and 10 would come back. It was the common thing. But I was the one that would be woken up because my mum didn't want to do it. So I would cook for everybody. So it wasn't the first time I'd done it. I'd done it many a time. But the only thing about my father was he was very meticulous about having everything put away so they could carry on drinking. So the dishes needed to be taken away. And I would be sitting there from, as I said, the age of 7 or 8, I can remember friends coming with the tray ready to go in and collect everything and take it away. One night when I came down, I was particularly tired, and I think I was starting to go through, you know, the change, growing up, the puberty sort of stage. So emotions, hormones were all over the place anyway in themselves. And when I came down to clear the dishes, I sat on the stairs. I can remember it very clearly, looking down at my feet, thinking, oh, I wonder if I can go to bed soon, you know, almost talking to myself. And then I heard the call, because they used to shout my name, or they'd shout witch. My father was adamant that I was a witch, that I'd brought upon the family a demonic sort of presence, that I was bringing bad luck upon them because I was born a girl. And a child of 14 or 6 doesn't know what they're doing. They are led to do what their parents teach them. So there's no chance of that being a reality. But this particular night, they grabbed me and I closed my eyes really tightly, thinking I would numb some of what was happening away. But my hearing was so acute, I knew which person was grabbing me first and doing what they were doing, because I knew each person from the sound, because I'd never had the interaction with them. So there was no escape really of knowing that it was my father that grabbed me first. And they repetitively raped me until I passed out. I was beaten as well as raped, and they left me there for dead. That was the first time I realized that this doesn't feel right. This isn't how it should be. And
No.
I got into a situation where one of them impregnated me, and it led to an abortion. And my father told me that I'd ruined my own life.
How do you unlock this? See, we're very grateful, we're very blessed to have unlocked our passion, and many passions. It's not just one we have.
Yeah.
A lot of people listening, they have things that they want to do and they know something's inside of them to be released. How can they find that inner gift,
Yeah.
that inner passion? It's easy for us to say
Yeah.
as people that are actually living our purpose, but what would you say?
I think it's having the courage to follow what you actually truly are. Like what gets your heart racing? Is it drawing, art? Is it music? Is it writing books? Is it looking good? Is it fashion? What actually are you passionate about? You can be passionate about more than one thing. Like, what are you actually passionate about? Write those five things down. Write 5 things down that you are passionate about, and then in the opposite column, write down 5 things that you're actually good at. So what you're passionate about, you may not actually be good at. So, for example, I'm passionate about football, but I'm not very good at it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am passionate about bringing great minds together to learn from them, and I'm actually pretty good at that through being able to build relationships, through having good interpersonal skills, through good networking, through being visible on social media. So that's something I'm passionate about, and that's something I'm good at. So there are 2 things that create something that combines those 2, and you've got really something that, I don't know, that's sort of setting your heart on fire a wee bit. You know, it's getting your heart beating that wee bit quicker. Something that you're really interested in. You're passionate about it and you're good at it. That's a no-brainer. Like now you've got your own interest. Now your own interest is piqued. And if you can find a way to monetize that, then you're doing something. But here's the deeper question for me is, why is it your passion, and why is it your purpose? Why do you want to do it? And I did an exercise, Rene, called the 7 Levels Deep. And it was to find my why. And I did it with a personal development coach from Derry who lives in the States, Cleona O'Hara, who you may see online. Cleona's a dear friend of mine. And we did a 7 Levels Deep exercise on our first conversation on a WhatsApp call. And it's like Cleona said to me, Gary, what's your why? Why do you do what you do? And the first thing I said was very cliche, actually, when I look back, was, I do this for my family, Cleona. It's for my family. And she said, right, okay, Gary, you and millions of others. Right, so you do it for your family, but tell me this here, why do you do it for your family? And I said, I do it for my family because I want them to have a good life. I want them to have a good life. I want them to be happy, healthy, and to have a good life. She goes, right, okay. So you're doing it for your family, and you're doing it for your family because you want them to be happy, healthy, and content, and have a good life. Why is that important to you? Why do you want them to be? Why do you want them to have a good life? I know you want them to have a good life, and it makes sense that you do. But there has to be, what's the reason that you do? And I said, I want them to have a good life because maybe when I was younger, I fretted and worried about money, fretted and worried about being popular. I worried and fretted about being good enough. I worried and fretted about these things, and I don't really want them to worry and fret about anything. And I want to create a life that's just abundance, and they can just enjoy all aspects free of all of that. And then she says, And why is that so important to you? Like, why is that so important to you? And the more you can see we're going deeper here, and we're going deeper. Started off my family, and then it's down to fretting and anxiety and not feeling good enough. And we ended up anyway, and I can say it on the slide because I know that my mother and father will never watch this because they're not on Instagram, or any social media platform, is my why is and was, I want my wife and children to be proud of me, because I never felt anybody else was proud of me when I was a young boy growing up.
The most amazing good friend, Kathy Scott, who is the director for the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund. And yeah, so, wow. We talk about the hospital, because obviously I've been with the charity a long time, and I remember when the idea came about fundraising for the hospital. So talk me through that. That was a really big venture for the charity.
Yeah, great. And just before I say that, sending hugs back to Fleur, but also hi to Epeleng, our Crazy Legs runner in South Africa.
Oh, yes.
Incredible, who I'll talk about in a minute. And he's contacting us from South Africa.
Hello, lovely. Yes, I remember he did the run, didn't he, for the charity? That's right. Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
So the hospital was just, it's a project that we're really, you know, we still sometimes can't believe it, and we're very, very proud of it. And really, it unfortunately came from a very sad story where our CEO, wonderful CEO called Bongi, lost her young son through an accident, and he sadly died. And during the time that he was being treated in an adult hospital, and at that time, Bongi saw the glaring problems with regard to childcare in hospitals in South Africa. And so when he passed away, Mr. Mandela and Mama Michelle said to Bongi, is there anything we can do? And she said, look, you can't bring my son back, but you really need to look at the healthcare facilities for children in South Africa. And he said, okay, go and do it. So she formed a team, and we did a feasibility study over a number of years, and we discovered that, you know, it really was, hi Kyan, we discovered that really there was a terrible lack of children's facilities, hospital facilities in the African continent as a whole. And so that feasibility study led us to actually looking at building a hospital, and it took a number of years, but we had to raise around $100 million, and which we did, and we opened the hospital in 2017, and we are currently not at full capacity in terms of our theatres of excellence, the number of them, but we're phasing in bit by bit. And at the moment, it's we're doing incredible work, and obviously working very hard because COVID is a challenge as well. So it was one of the biggest civil society projects ever undertaken in Southern Africa, and I think we're really, really proud that we managed to achieve that. And you know, it'll be wonderful to see. We have a saying that you never know who the next Mandela will be. And you know, so many children are losing their lives through very simple procedures that they just didn't have access to. And you know, just one of those children could have the cure for cancer. You know, could be an amazing scientist and amazing politician. And you know, we'll never know because they just haven't had the medical treatment, and they've sadly passed before they should. So our job is to really ensure that the population of the country are happy and healthy, and you know, we protect the future leaders of the country.
Well, I'm so chuffed to have you on, and thank you. I know you're very busy ladies, lots going on right now for you, which was amazing in this season. And I've looked at your work, and your fashion is out of this world. Your tailoring, your attention to detail, everything is spectacular. And I'm very excited to share the world with you, because you're in a very male-dominated industry. So as a woman being a tailor, my hat goes out to you, because I know that's without, yes, people forget, you know, not to say that there isn't women tailors, but to stand up the way you have, it says a lot about your craft and your design and your experience. So I'm really, really chuffed, and want to share the world with this amazing lady. And well, where do we start? I always want to know, how does somebody become a fashion designer? What triggered you to do this? Was you always into clothes? Was it a family member triggered you? What happened?
I think it was a combination of both, but I have to say, to begin with, actually, from the age of 9, I've always kind of wanted to be in the fashion industry. And actually, at the age of 9, one of my good friends at the time and myself, we actually kind of just started designing just randomly. Not really thinking it was kind of going to go anywhere, obviously. It was just kind of a labor of love, so to speak. And then kind of as time kind of went on, some of the ladies who I was working with, so I actually started my career in bridal at the age of 16. So I kind of worked my way up from sort of bridal assistant manager, advisor, and then went into actually kind of alterating bridal dresses and actually making bridal gowns as well. So it started off from there, and some of the ladies who I was working with at the time, they'd gone to, you know, Central St Martin's and London College of Fashion, and they were saying, oh, based on the history of fashion and dissertations and designing, and I was more interested in the actual craft, actually knowing how to make something. So if someone was to give me an image or a picture or a sketch, I wanted to know how to make it, not just design. So I kind of went down more the construction route, I guess you could say. And at the time, was kind of tailoring, which was very, very hands-on. So from there, after I did bridal, I did an internship at Oswald Boateng, and then after that, then career off on Savile Row, so as a tailor. So that was quite.
That's phenomenal. But ladies and gentlemen, Savile Row is the prestige place in London where most of the biggest designers in the world have literally trained when it comes to tailoring. So for you to have your experience and to learn your craft there, wow. And I saw you see, you're very humble, and I love you. The Princess Diana's tailor taught you how to tailor.
Yes.
Yeah, how amazing.
Andrew Ramroop, who he's an OBE himself, actually. And he's got a really interesting story himself, coming from Trinidad to training on Savile Row. And then actually Maurice Edouard actually gave him his shop, and out of kind of respect and taking him on, he's actually kept the name Maurice Edouard. So which is a lovely story, but he is recognised as probably one of the best tailors on Savile Row as well. And he was very famously known, obviously he made a lot of pieces for Diana, but there was a specific jacket which she had a very big, and that was one of the jackets that kind of propelled him. So
wow, that's amazing. So to be around the cream of fashion, and I hear the former CEO of Harvey Nichols and Burberry speaks about you as the next Giorgio Armani. That's an amazing, yes. How incredible.
Actually, she's a lovely lady herself. She's very, very down to earth, very, very humble, very fast in fashion as well. So when she's thought of something, she makes a decision, she runs with it. And yeah, it was nice to be mentored with her, you know, by the short space of time I was actually at Harvey Nichols. So, but she's a lovely lady.
Incredible.